Well, welcome everyone to the 18th annual MIT Sloan CIO Symposium, the first digital edition. I'm Alan Tate, the executive chair and your host today. Well, this is episode 11, the CIO Award presentation and panel. Very exciting to find out what's going to happen here. For questions, please use the Q&A app at the bottom of your screen. You can also use chat amongst yourselves. We won't monitor that for questions. If you use social media, please use hashtag MITCIO and join the community discussion. Post in the 2021 Symposium program under the topic Enterprise Strategy. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. George Westerman. He is a senior lecturer at the MIT Sloan School of Management. He's also the co-chair of our CIO Leadership Award team. Please join me in welcoming Dr. George Westerman.
Thanks, Alan. And thanks for, you said this is episode 11. Thanks for running a really great series for us during the year. You've pulled together a team of volunteers in a way that is really impressive, especially with as much as what's going on. So thanks for doing everything you've been doing. This has been a really, let's just say, an interesting year, a fascinating year, a difficult year for everybody. One thing that I'd say was not a bad year is the bumper crop of amazing CIOs that applied for our award. And you can see we have 5 finalists this year. And the reason for that is they were all just so darn good. And, we usually try to keep it to a smaller slate, but everybody here on this room deserved recognition. You've met several of them already through the earlier sessions that have been going on. And I just want to really highlight to everybody here how impressed we were with your applications. You rose to the top of a very large group of applicants. And I could say that, we in the MIT Sloan CIO Symposium are really proud to be able to share your stories and to be able to put you on stage so that other people could see what you are doing. Now, we have an hour to talk among the 5 of you, and then we'll have the award ceremony at the end of that. So what I thought I'd do, rather than, me introduce each of you, you can introduce yourselves, and we'll do it one at a time. So we'll go alphabetical order. And as much as it pains me being AW to start at the beginning of the alphabet, let's start there anyway. So why don't we start with Marina? If you could just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what have you done to drive really great value in your company?
Thank you, George. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Marina Bellini. I am the Chief Information Digital Officer for BAT. In BAT, we are transforming our organization to build a better tomorrow and to reduce the health impact of our business in society. What we've been doing there is trying to apply technology and new ways of working to deliver commercial value. And in a broad sense of commercial value, it means understanding better the consumer, having the insights to develop the future products of the organization, making them available to our consumers and customers. It is about finding efficiencies in the organization to be able to reinvest and continue further transforming this organization. And it's about developing our people and our partners. So jointly, we make this a better tomorrow.
So Marina, if you could, what's kind of the favorite thing you've done over the last 2 or 3 years? It doesn't have to be the most important, the most valuable. What's the favorite thing that you've done?
Favorite thing I've done is to see people learn and experiment stuff. I think the amount of situations in which, we start with a problem and statement and we did not know what the solution would be. We go for a trial, for experimentation, and in many cases, the first hypothesis is not the winning one. So I think my favorite thing is to see people learning at speed and sharing across the world. We operate in over 180 markets. So I find fascinating how things that apply in one side of the world can serve to another side of the world and a different function. So that amazes me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great. So on farther up the alphabet, Vipin Gupta.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. So my name is Vipin Gupta. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Toyota Financial Services, TFS. TFS is a Toyota company that offers lending, insurance, payments, banking, protection products, and other financial services to the customers and dealers of Toyota, Lexus, and other private label partners like Mazda. From a value perspective, we are building upon a strong foundation of TFS to elevate it from an auto finance company for Toyota and Lexus brand only to an auto finance company for many brands. And so this was enabled through a groundbreaking mobility finance as a service model built on this multi-tenant technology platform. So this allows us to offer our platforms and capabilities to other automakers in mobility business. And this is kind of a first of its kind. And the mobility finance as a service approach has resulted in significant growth and has proven attractive to many automakers and other automakers, especially Mazda. And this transition to as a service model required an innovation, multi-tenant enterprise platform, new shared services business operating model. And we had to do this all while managing and maintaining our technology expenses. And so we harness the power of technology, the technologists and digitally savvy business teams to deliver on this platform. And what really excites me is that this is not just about technology. This needed changes in how we lead with the new mindset, new behaviors and methods. And so the largest auto finance company needed to move at a pace of a digital startup. So in April of 2020, in middle of COVID lockdown, we launched Mazda Financial Services in 7 months, leading to multi-million-dollar savings and multi-billion-dollar asset growth. And our partners at Mazda are now beneficiary for our full range of auto finance services, our deep auto finance expertise, and cost-effective shared service offerings. So dealer satisfaction and the business results have exceeded expectations. So giving us this confidence to add more private labels, brands in future. So digital and technology is now the catalyst to drive a strategic value for Toyota Financial Services, not just for this year, but for years to come.
Okay, thank you. Great. Next up, Anupam Khare.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thanks, George. I am Anupam Khare, and I am the SVP and CIO of Oshkosh Corporation. And a little bit about Oshkosh Corporation. This is an $8 billion market cap company, Fortune 500 company with 15,000 team members around the world. What we do is we apply advanced technologies to design, develop, and manufacture specialty vehicles and machines for everyday heroes. And when I'm talking about everyday heroes, these are soldiers, firefighters, environmental service workers, and construction workers with a mission of raising their productivity and safety. When we talk about IT or digital technology, my team's focus is to raise margin, increase sales, and improve productivity of entire organization. And in order to do that, we have three-pronged approach, and we call it trust, talent, and technology. And trust, we build trust by running IT as a business and being laser focused on value. We embed DT strategy in the DT strategy within the business strategy. And finally, we have an approach called We Care. And We Care means we have built a brand that every interaction my 15,000 team members have with us, they should feel that we care, and every business partner should feel that we care about them, we care about their business. The second element is the talent, and talent we have been focusing on not only raising and is upskilling our own team in digital technology, but more importantly, we are focusing on raising the talent and in digital savviness of our business team. And final point is technology. This trust and upskill allows us to focus on in basic immersing multiple technologies, and starting with data and analytics, which is very pervasive in our organization now, and a basket of digital manufacturing technologies to raise employee efficiency, productivity, such as augmented reality, virtual reality, and computer vision, etc. With that, I'll pass it on to Bryson.
I do have to ask you, Anupam, because it was just so much fun to read in the application. Tell us about your drones and the fire trucks. I know it's not really an IT innovation, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah, so that innovation, if you look at the singular mission we focus on, we take care of like firefighters. So we focus on what we can do to make our firefighters more safe. So what we have done is a drone technology. It's called a tethered drone, which basically attaches to our fire truck. But it uses thermal imaging technology for situational awareness. So now fire marshal at the bottom of the fire scene can see the thermal imaging of the whole building where fire is happening. They can identify where anybody is stuck and where firefighters are, so that they can direct their resources to basically save lives. And as you can imagine, that millisecond matters in firefighting situation. That's why that's such a cool innovation. We are proud of it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great. On to Bryson Koehler.
Well, thanks, George. We should just skip me. I don't have drones, so we should. But no, thank you. Hi, everyone. Good day. I'm Bryson Koehler. I am the Chief Technology Officer at Equifax. I joined the company 3 years ago to help the company go through a massive transformation. I have the pleasure of leading our global technology teams and our global product teams around the world. And we help over 880 million people live their financial best, helping people and businesses make smarter decisions, helping us use data to bring financial inclusion and financial awareness to more people every day around the world. So we take this mission very seriously, and we came into it saying we have to rebuild how we think and how we work and the culture. And then so it started as a technology transformation, but I think as we all know, it really is a business transformation more than anything, a people and cultural transformation. So moving our collaboration tools from legacy to cloud, moving our 63 data centers from legacy to cloud, rebuilding our 5,500 databases from legacy to cloud, and really rethinking how do we find the right signals, the right insights, and how do we engage with every individual around the world to help him or her learn more and make smarter decisions? How do we really put the power of living your financial best into the hands of individuals? And so we knew that the technology transformation of bringing our data together, having a faster way to ingest, a faster way to link and graph and key all of our data, so that we could, really transform how we helped. That was at the heart of our transformation mission. So we've been on that journey for 3 years. We've moved almost half of our business fully onto the cloud at this point, and we'll have another quarter or third of it done by the end of this year, which sets us up to be fully complete next year. So a very rapid and fast-paced transformation where we've had to really reinvent who we were, rethink our product lines, rethink our product culture, and obviously reskill, retool, and rethink how we worked and operated as a technology team, and how we integrated and worked and supported all of our business leaders, listening to our customers and making sure that we had a customer first mindset, which, I think frankly was something that, took us a moment to really get our heads wrapped around. But I'm excited to be here today. And while I don't have drones, we are very passionate about the mission we have to help the 880 million people around the world make a smarter decision every day.
Anybody that spent time with financial services firms knows how hard it is to do the challenge that you've just done. That you've got a lot of legacy, you've got a lot of spaghetti, you've got data all over the place. And the idea of tying it together and making it more coherent like you're doing, why is it succeeding now when I'm sure it didn't succeed the first couple of times people tried?
Well, I think, never waste a good crisis. Equifax had a existential, challenge that it faced back in 2017. And I think, instead of us spending time wondering whether or not it was time for transformation, whether, should we, spend a year or two debating as a company whether or not we needed to invest, everything's fine. Why do we have to invest, Bryson? Why can't we just keep doing what we're doing? When you have those crises that bring a company together, it makes it very clear very quickly, what needs to be done. And we had a decision to make. We could kind of patch the old, or we could really build for the future. And we took an opportunity to invest over $1.5 billion over the last 3 years to build for the future. And that was a bold decision. That was not the easy route. That was the harder route. But we had support from our investors, had support from our board, and had support from our customers that was a moment for us to really reset who we were, because just patching the old in a bunch of silos was not going to be a modern way to leverage all of the signals we needed to expand financial inclusion. I mean, we don't need to just rebuild what we had, because not in all cases what we had didn't work for everyone. And so we knew that we needed to think about this problem differently. Me being kind of a data geek and a data lover, we wanted to start with the data first, get the data right in a modern data fabric that enabled us, to have the right security, the right governance, and the right, graphing capabilities. And so I think why it's succeeding is just we had the willingness and the courage as a company to be bold, and use the opportunity that we had to really change who we were.
Great, thank you. It's a big challenge. So last but not least, we have the U.S. and Europe, and we also have India here. So Pertisth Mankotia, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Pertisth. Thanks, George, for hosting us and honoring us over there with the esteemed panel. It's very nice to be here. So as far as about me is concerned, I've been fortunate enough that working with Sheela firm is more than 25 years in the same company. So I have not only seen the IT transformation, but business transformation also both. And we are present in India, where our business is in Australia, Spain, 3 places. And we are present in both B2B, B2B and B2C segments. And B2C, we have got 15,000 outlets, exclusive, non-exclusive, across the India. So if you see what value we have brought to the enterprise, I just come in 3 ways, the fundamental value which we have tried to bring to the business, and technology comes after that. One is that we have tried to build the relationship, and which somewhere with our peers, with our users, external, and which has tried to earn our trust. And once we have earned our trust, then there's an IT first approach. If something is there, people walk to the IT, can we get it done through the IT? I think that's where something is going to add the value. Another area which we have added, because we have simplified, our focus is complete simplify. Whether you look at the data, whether you look at the processes, whether you look at the systems, whether you look at the information, whether you look at the infra, or whether it is a communication. I think that simplification drive helps to users to connect with us. And last, I know that consciousness, we have just given the consciousness to the organization, because we have a lot of data in the organization. So how we can build the conscious decision, whether we have to launch this product, whether how to build this experience. So all these 3 areas, building a consciousness, it's a dimension of the intelligence. So I think there are 3 areas we have worked on the fundamental side. And that's it.
Thanks. So, you make mattresses and things related to mattresses. And of course, everybody has an opinion about their mattress. And so our interview not only talked about the IT part, but also you seem very well versed on products and how you deliver your services and the customization and all these elements. You've been 25 years with the company. What was your background? How did you get both the IT and the business knowledge over your time at Sheela?
So let me tell you, we have one system, which is the ERP system, which we have developed. You call it CRM, SCM. It's a one system in the organization. And it's not in the manufacturing across the globe. It is also in the distributors. It is also in our retailers in one system. I think we went to the shop floor level. We understand the processes, and we did in hand. I think that's where we have got the knowledge. And similarly, in the customer also, we went to the customer level also, understand their pain. I think that's where hand in hand has worked for us and is working for the company very well. So that's where transformation of both has happened. I think the hand in hand is important. The understanding has happened with the ground level, with the last mile who is on the shop floor, who is a supervisor, we call it. If you're present with them, you understand what's the pain and what's going to solve. And plus, end customer, if you connect it, then you can connect from the customer to straightway to the shop floor. And many initiatives we have done, whether it is a complaint, why complaint has come. It's not that we have to solve that complaint. Why it has come, we have to link with the system, and what we can automate, there's a lot of opportunities comes in when you connect the dots. I think that has helped us to do a lot for the consumer, for the employees also both.
Oh, great, thank you. So you can see why we were so impressed with this set of panels, and why, of course, having to make the decision was really hard about the award process. But in the end, you're all winners, and I want to just really let everybody know, what the amazing things you've been doing over this time. So we could go through some questions now. If those of you in the audience, if you have any questions, put them into the Q&A, and we'll pick them up as we can to make sure that the good questions get asked appropriately. So why don't we start off? Certainly COVID is in everybody's mind, and it's been occupying a lot of people's mind share over time. What, as you've been, certainly you had to do your adjustments and all those things, but it also, I would expect, taught you something about leadership. So the question I'd have for you is, what lessons have you learned about leadership from having to manage through this COVID process? And I'll tell you what, Bryson, why don't you start us off, and then we'll have other people jump in.
So I think the biggest thing I've learned is how purposeful we need to be as leaders. When we were in our world before the pandemic, we would bump into each other. We were traveling around. I had constant opportunity to see my team, to see my partners, to see my customers, breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hours, walking around the halls. It all just happened. I didn't have to be as purposeful. But as we, went to a more remote work environment, and as we think about the future of what work will have, we have to be more purposeful in connecting our people, making sure our people are engaged, that they're excited, that they're motivated, and that we're listening. How are we making sure we're getting that feedback? The feedback that we would normally get bumping into someone in the hall and they said, "Hey, Bryson, did you know XYZ isn't working?" Or "I struggled with," or "I am struggling with." Now you have to be more purposeful, reaching out, listening, and connecting with people with time on your calendar, even if it's 5 or 10 minute check-ins, to make sure that you're not missing out on what you would have, organically gotten before.
And Vipin, you were telling me some good things last week in our session.
Yes, George. I think so. One of my lessons is, being a CIO, we typically think of our role as about driving revenue. It's about controlling costs. But I think last year, not only just pandemic, I think it was much more that was going on. And we kind of transitioned from these where social issues are now becoming business issues. So CIOs and any business leader is now a culture leader. We have to take our leadership to a human level. It's all about people. It's about people first. And I think, to me, that was the lesson. We have to listen to our teams. We have to make sure we are giving our team members and employees a voice to be heard. So the lesson here is, for me, is continue to be authentic, continue to model this courage, and show empathy for others, and be human and prioritize people first. It's all about people. If we do it right by people, it will be right for the business.
And everybody's being very well behaved, but if you want to just jump in,
I just jump in. I
Sure.
think Bryson mentioned about purpose, right? I think that clarity of purpose for employees, definitely, we have been talking about collaboration can happen only around the conference room, as I mentioned in the last week's panel, but I think effective collaboration happens around a purpose. So I fully agree with Bryson, what he said. Well, one thing I'll also add here, if we look at the last year events, and as Vipin mentioned, there was not one event, actually. Pandemic was a health event. There was massive cyber events happening all over the place. And also, as Vipin mentioned, the social issues, right? So in all three things, first lesson here is, as leaders, we have to be ready to embrace multiple uncertainties at the same time, and ability to juggle between that. And that's where, I steal this word from the products and all that. I said connected leaders, right? You have to be connected with your customers, your team base, your society, and these are the times when your convictions will be tested. You have to have your voice. What is your voice on diversity and inclusion, right? What's your voice on other issues? So I think I'll say that connected leadership is the new dimension We knew it, but it became more apparent to me during this pandemic.
So, one of the things that we've also had to discover during this pandemic is how, as you said, responding to being connected and responding well to make sure you're doing the right things. That connection, that true strategic connection, not only to your people, but the really strategic connection to the top of the business is important. So, if I were to ask you, what's the most important thing that an IT leader can do to become a true strategic partner to the business? What would it be? And Marina, why didn't you start us off?
Yeah, it's a good question, George. I think it is any leader, not necessarily a technology leader, is the caring and daring, right? So taking care of the people, taking care of the business, but at the same time, working to strive and to get better and better. So I think the characteristic that drives that for me is curiosity. So this idea of feeling happy, of finding out things that that you don't know, so you go and learn about it. I think this has always been important when you are in the middle of so many crises, as my colleagues here have named. This is just even more important because we absolutely know that we cannot, look for the absolutely perfect answers before we take a decision, before we make a move. But we are ready to go with whatever information that we have, doing the best we can for our people and our business, and very quickly learn from it. So for me, it's curiosity. Assuming that you care and dare to begin with, because this is not open for negotiation if you want to lead anything.
Thanks.
So
anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my point is that if you have to add this, you must understand the business first. And business first is not only the business first. You must have the outside in view and inside out view. Only then you can add value, because you must understand outside the organization also and inside, and seeing from the inside look at the outside, and similarly from outside look at the inside. I think these are the terms when we have to add value. You must understand those pain areas, and then you can add those things. What are the opportunities? I'll not call the pain areas. I'll call also a lot of opportunities out there to do that.
I'll just add a little different flavor to it. The way I see a strategic partnership requires when you make their winning as your winning. I think that's the piece we have to start. Your winning is my winning. And it should be reflected in intent, vocabulary, and actions. All three areas. So if business leaders and business partner feels, right, that we have the same intent, helping them make more money, helping them be successful with their customers. And then we have a vocabulary. We use business vocabulary in terms of value, cost, and reducing friction for our customers, and then actions. So our project portfolio, or our action should reflect that all three things are synchronized: intent, vocabulary, and then it naturally builds a trusted relationship.
And as we go towards that trust, certainly that's the trust moving up, but then you also have the trust moving down. And you've all talked about the idea of, needing to have some empathy for your people and help them through this, even as you're making the changes. Let's talk about culture in general, right? Great leaders drive culture in their organizations. And what are some lessons you've got for how really to make your culture faster, more innovative over time? Anybody who wants to start?
Sorry, you go.
Oh, go. No, go.
No, that's okay. I'll do after.
Okay, so I think it's about helping us realize that we can tolerate failure as long as we are working and learning and pushing. That being safe sometimes is risky. That our job, especially as technology leaders, is to really be pushing the art of the possible, and we have to balance that with risk. But that the culture really should be one about not did I get the last project done, but how well am I improving the product? The product should be the mindset. We should be constantly looking at improving, not just delivering the project, right? Like that to me is like IT of old, project check, project check, project check. But really this product mindset where we have multi-generational thoughts about how we're going to constantly evolve and improve. And then we're going to take a few risks and sprinkle those in as our project, or our product roadmaps evolve. That culture that you can bring to life, which then brings together the business and customers and technology people and our product managers to really be thinking about how we can take the best minds from each side of the table and really push ourselves to innovate and to be okay taking a few risks and be okay kind of putting ourselves out there. I think that's, to me, a very exciting culture. And I think one of the great things that we saw from this pandemic, and from my perspective, kind of tying into that, is that we all realized how similar we were. I've got teams in 30 countries around the world, and we were all going through the same situation. And before, maybe we had very different processes. Maybe we thought about ourselves and how different we were. But I think the pandemic also helped us realize how similar we were. And that really, to me, also helped stimulate a lot of our innovation and culture, because we're now more one Equifax than we were before. And I think we've taken the best from so many different places and turned that into our culture, not via a memo, not via some mandate, and not via a series of workshops, but organically in how we work has completely changed.
So my thought is in this: the culture is the outcome of the values in the organization. It's just not that IT has a separate culture. So there's an organization, there are some values, and IT is a subset of it. Take that. And if you're not convinced those values, then you need to change those values. But if you have those values, you have to demonstrate those values in the IT. For example, we have got 4 values in the organization. Just quickly, humility is there. Now, how do IT can demonstrate it? So I simply say, if humility is there, just take the blame and pass the credit. That's a humility IT people can do it. Another is the agility is there. You should be on time always. Third one is on the customer delight is one of the values there. Your system should be very simpler. People before they ask, it should be there. I think these are the integrity we have. It's just what you think, what you say, and what you do. I think these are the demonstration one has to demonstrate from the IT side also, to bring that culture, to have that confidence in the organization that we are following this culture. I think that's the way it's happened hand in hand.
I just build on that, maybe similar to what you said, Pertisth. I feel that the technology and the digital teams, we have the privilege and the responsibility to cut across the organization, all functions and all markets. And I think we need to take this very seriously. In BAT, we are transforming the company, and to transform the company, we are transforming the culture. We have our 5, key ethos: fast, bold, empowered, diverse, and responsible. And I think similar to what you said is, how can we show them in action to everybody in the organization? So we kind of take the responsibility of being the first and showing this in practice, so people see that, it doesn't take 3 years to develop a system. We can be fast. We can do 1, 2, 3 pieces very quickly and then get better. They can see that not everything is done from the center. The end markets can be empowered. They see, of course, that they're going to be very responsible in how we deal with our data, employees' data, consumers' data, that of course, we're going to be leveraging the diversity of the organization, because it's not one size fits all type of solution. And yeah, we're going to be innovating. Some things are going to work, not work. We need to be bold and move on. So I think our organizations have this huge responsibility to drive culture across the group, because anyhow, we are there already.
And, a big part of culture is agile, and you all mentioned this idea of being agile, but, even as you're making the broader cultural change, there's this idea of introducing agile in IT, but then hopefully moving that up to the business. And I wonder if you have some lessons that you could share on how to make agile work in organizations. Maria, you were there. Let's come back to you on that. How are you making agile work in your company?
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite thoughts of this, really, really tough year that we all have been in, for all the reasons that have been mentioned, and a few more probably, is that I think we are able to demystify agile. It's not a consulting word anymore, and it's also not an IT thing anymore. The idea that we could leave agile, that is to move forward with an MVP, with limited information, limited solution, but good enough for you to take a step and then build from it. get number of situations across the organization with or without technology that we saw happening. I come from an organization, over 100 years old, where usually it takes forever for you to take a decision because you aim for perfection. Guess what? This doesn't work when you're trying to create a new industry and to create products that the consumers are not necessarily working for. That also does not work when you are in a pandemic because you don't have all the information. You don't know how things are going to look like, the next day, the next week in every of our markets. So I think we need to take this positive of this, negative situation. That is, people are seeing agile in practice, live. They need to understand this agile. Don't think anymore. This is something that they don't know. They know they're doing. We need to keep it from when I hope very soon we are out of the crisis, that we can continue moving at speed, MVPs in place, not 100%, and learn as we go.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think it's right. Agile is really about the transformation of the behavior and the habits and the routines, right? So it's not just about software development. And it's like about the entire enterprise. You can't just do it for like one product or one project or one department. It's like one link in this chain cannot be agile and the rest of the enterprise is still following some different methods and habits. I say this has to be the way of life for the entire company. We have to be all in, or don't worry about agile, because you're not going to get agile if only one department is running fast and the rest of the departments are on a different speed. And I also,
go ahead.
Also believe, I think, agile kind of, if you really want to do agile at scale at the enterprise level, it has to start from the top. The speed of the boss is the speed of the team. So speed of the leader is the speed of the team. And typically the biggest impediment in realizing the value from digital or IT or any transformation is typically not the speed of engineering or development of the software. It is typically the speed of decision-making. The cost of decision-making is very high. And that's why it is really important that these kind of behavior and these kind of habits start from the top and all the way down to the organization.
And you've done that, Vipin, right? You've gotten to the top of your company to be agile also.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did, George. And we have, as a team, as a leadership team, we all committed to this idea. And we said we're going to take the entire organization, all business units, all functions of the business, and then turn them into these what we call as agile business capability factories. We call them digital factories, which was a way for us to take this agile culture and the values that we have had, and going back to the word that Pertisth used, behaviors come from values, the values that have been embedded in Toyota from our Toyota production system for decades. We leveraged those, applied it to not only software development, but the behaviors of the organization. And then we created routines where we pulled the top of the organization into those decision-making routines, almost like a Scrum-style meetings. So executives are operating with the Scrum-style meetings, not just the factory teams. And that fundamentally changed the speed of decision-making. But what it did was it reduced and eliminated significant waste in our transformation and IT projects.
So I need to add one thing over here in the agile. Actually, I have a different definition on this, but correlate with so everyone. Actually, we work on a TOC principle. The constraints of the IT should not be there. It should lie outside the IT, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is application. So you should not have the constraint at your side. It should be outside. Similarly, when we say in the organization, constraint has to not be there in the production. It has to be in the sales always. So similarly, as many as project we can get, but constraint should not be inside the IT. That's a TOC principle we work. And similarly, we adopt in the IT also.
And kind of tying to that, I think that's why it's so great to see this great collection of leaders, George, that you and the team have pulled together, because I would say Agile requires the entire industry, the entire world to do it together, because if we're Agile in our company, but our customers are not Agile, they can't take our pace of change. As we go from one release a quarter to one release a day, if they're not Agile, then we're not Agile. And so we all have to do this together, and we all have to move at a faster pace if we're really going to increase our velocity. And so I think looking in that outside lens, I think is a really good point.
Thank you. There's a question from the group, and there were two questions. One about dashboards, and one about how you reconcile IT initiatives with the bottom line. And so can we talk a little bit about, measurement and metrics and how you communicate, how you use those to communicate and make decisions? Does anybody want to jump in with some lessons on that?
Yeah, I can jump in here. We started our journey like in 2018. As I said, run DT or digital technology as a business, and the focus there was on value. So what we do is that every project which comes for IT to work on, and it doesn't come, is we work with the business to get the IT. We work with the businesses. We have created a framework. Okay, if we do this, what are the business metrics going to be impacted? So there's a cost element. If we do something, cost reduces, but there is an element of hours getting automated because we raise the productivity of the organization, but also many of the projects, right, they help in raising the revenue. So we work with them saying, okay, if we do this, how much your revenue will increase, right? So those levels of details of discussion happens in the what we call as a planning stage of our project. So every project we value in terms of a net operating income impact. That's how we measure. So project decision we make based on net present value, which is investment, but business impact on margin. And what has happened is this is applicable for every project except the risk-oriented project. But at the same time, like the analytics is a classic case where everything we do, either we impact the bottom line or we help them increasing the sales. And it is a lot more easier to do. So initially, first 6 months or 9 months, we were the only functions who were talking about value in numbers. It was a little bit challenge in learning, but as we move around to today, I can clearly describe that as a result of all the IT projects done, these many millions of dollars net operating income have happened, and that can be verified by finance because we involve finance and sponsors early in the process.
So one of the questions, go ahead.
Oh, just to build on what Anupam said, I think it's similar what we have that we define on the different initiatives, what are the business KPIs that are going to be improved, being, more sales, lower costs, better engagement. And I think similar also that finance is validating that, and it's not us talking about the technology, but to be honest, is the supply leader or the marketing leader talk about what can be done with technology. So I think this is something that we've been maturing and kind of not ever giving up, even if it's hard to find the correlation of an analytics case on revenue and margin improvement, because it's not just the analytics that do it. It's a lot of actions that people take using the analytics. So I think we need to continue. One thing that we started a year ago that has been helping is that we set up a digital committee that I chair, and the CEO, a few of colleagues of myself in the management board, join 4 times a year, where it's not trying to look to the value of what we are doing, is top down, looking to the key KPIs that we believe, we know, we research can be influenced and get better through the use of technology and digital, and then follow up how we are improving them. And if we are not, what are the things that we should be doing or should be copying faster across the organization to improve those KPIs? And they could be, direct to consumer revenue. They could be demand forecast accuracy. They could be employee engagement. So we have set a set of KPIs that I know they're not perfect, but at the same time, I know that they can be heavily influenced by technology and data. And we put our brains around it to see if we're doing enough to get those business KPIs better. And naturally, this is going to flow into good business case and good P&L, but it's starting to do bottom up, finding ideas, and topping down, driving the organization to find ideas.
So any of you, when this change that we're doing from project-based funding to product-based funding, a lot of organizations are going, how does that change the way you make decisions, and how does that change the metrics, this conversations you're having?
Yeah, so we, George, I think that's a big topic for us and a big transformation. We have really moved from this project-based funding approach to a product-based funding approach. And it's really not a funding approach. It's really managing the expense and value approach. So the idea is when you have a product teams, products are infinite in life. There's continuous improvement to the product. So it shifts the value governance, if you will, from these macro initiatives or macro projects to more at the micro, at the day-to-day level. So in our case, we have this, what we call as a fact board. It's inspired by what we have seen in our Toyota factories. We call it a fact board, where you can see at any point of time across all the factories what capabilities or user stories are in what stage of the development towards the production. And so part of this is what happens is, because we have these factories and they're fixed size, fixed capacity, so what happens, it forces the decision makers, which is each of the product owners, to always focus on the most essential or the most viable product, as well as based on the highest value that it will derive for the business. Right? So it is forced mechanism by fixing the capacity to drive more high business value at a different kind of a speed. And to us, that has been really, really successful, because what it does is it helps us manage the expenses. It drives naturally the value, and the accountability for the value-based decision-making is at the factory level, which is more at the product ownership level. We believe in this idea in Toyota Production System. We call it the capacity is equal to work plus waste. So if you fix the capacity, you focus on the value-added work, then you're naturally eliminating waste, and which is where most of this IT expenses that used to create waste and not create business value are getting eliminated. And we are seeing significant results. We have shifted the IT expense ratio for how much we invest in grow versus run. That ratio has shifted, where we are investing more and more in grow without changing the overall IT economics for the company.
Wow. So let's jump in. You talked about, making sure empowering at the teams level. You also talked about, we talked about growth and not just cost. But one thing that people think about a lot as a cost is training.
Yeah.
And, certainly it's one of the first things that gets cut when budgets get tight. And it, certainly my research shows it can be done a lot better in a lot of organizations, and there are ways to do it better. What are you as CIOs doing to help your people reskill and upskill, not only your people, but the people that are affected by the changes that you're driving in your companies? Anupam, why don't you start us off on that?
Yeah, so from our perspective, I think there are three things we're doing here, both on the business side and DT side. First is creating a desire to learn. And that's where, so desire to learn is the first element. The second is providing opportunities and platform. And third thing is demonstrating that learning matters. Okay, so three things. So the first part is desire to create. This is where we have partnered with HR, our human resources team, and we have a concept called, this very simple concept called frequent meaningful conversations, where we have a discussion around individuals' aspiration and organizational need for new set of assets, new sets of skills. And we put in, every employee puts in their individual development plan. When it comes to providing opportunity, this is where we provide access to free online platform, boot camp. We send some of the people to universities for example, for data science courses, right? And so those are the mechanism where we provide. And finally is the demonstration. And the demonstration aspect comes in when a new opportunity opens, right? We make sure the people who are learners, obviously the merit of the role is important, but people who are learners, who constantly update themselves, we give them an opportunity to advance. And once we have started showing those specific examples, we are seeing that the learning is speeding up.
Thanks. Anybody else want to share what you're doing to help people get the skills they need in IT and elsewhere?
I think one of it starts with recruiting, right? Mm-hmm. It's 2021, and the whole I'm not technical, or that's no longer, I think, really valid. I think to some degree everyone has to have an innate curiosity of technology to be successful, regardless of what part of the business you're in today. And so part of this is it is on you to be curious. It is on you as an individual to make sure you're improving your life skills and that you're seeking out new ways to learn and push yourself. And so, yes, as leaders, it is our job to help and provide tools and give training and courses. But if people are taking this as as something personal for their own development as an individual, regardless of where they sit in the business, then it becomes less of a problem when those budget cuts or other things happen, because it's not on me to constantly make you curious. It's on you to be curious. It's on me to make sure that I'm helping provide tools around that curiosity. But if you don't have that, and we haven't caught that in the recruiting phase, then it's going to be harder for us to bring you along.
So if the robots are replacing you and you have curiosity, we should keep you. But if the robots are replacing you, you don't have the curiosity of anything else, then maybe the robots should replace you?
I think the robots are augmenting you, not replacing.
Great, thanks.
Just to add on, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
You go?
I think Marina, you're in, yeah.
Okay. No, just to build on that one, we built 2 years ago a program that is already on its version 5, I think, that we call Digital DNA, that is basically embedding digital in everybody's DNAs across the organization. HR will have, rightly so, very good functional training programs where finance people learn finance and HR people learn HR and IT people learn IT. They also would have leadership programs, and this all continues. But we find out, a while ago that there were skills that need to be across the organization. And we select our 5 magic ones that kind of obvious, but I'll repeat them. It is agile, it is storytelling, it is design thinking, it is big data, and it's every exponential technology that's out there. So this is something that is for everybody, all different levels of the organization, to be exposed on basic, intermediate, advanced levels, and eventually, in each of those layers, applying some of that into, one's job. And this has been something that we had really positive engagement. We start worried that people would think it's too much, and what does it has to do with my job? Where it's kind of the opposite, just make sure that the content is being refreshed and increased, because people engage so easily with it, they just want more. So I
can you go through your 4 again, Marina? You said it's agile, storytelling, design thinking, and what was the 4th one? Big
data and exponential technology. So it's 5.
5, okay. Because you at least got through 3 things without ever actually doing anything digital in your digital thinking training, right? And I think that's really important. Certainly, data, of course, it's essential. But I think that's a really important point here too, that, the idea is that technology doesn't change your business, you change your business. And the question is how to think about that technology as, as a lever, as opposed to learning how to code or learning how to do AI or something like that. So I think it's interesting. Good. So, hey, Pertisth, I know you want to jump in and answer this one, and then I've got another question for you too. So go ahead.
Sure. So the idea is in this, let me tell it to you. We have the experiment-friendly environment. You have to be student always. It's not for me or it's not for the newcomer. It's for everyone over there. I think you have to involve them, pay them the attention, and we have the labs where people can do. And let me tell you, we have one statement which we tell everyone. We start our day with the expectations and end with the experiences. So that experiences help us to do better. So whether you are a newcomer in the company or you are the inside in the organization, you have to up skills and embrace the failures. I think that's what we do it. There should no fear of the failure in the organization.
Great.
Hey, George, can I add maybe
Sure.
a slightly different
go ahead.
perspective to this? I think so for us, I do believe that I think businesses like ours or enterprises like ours are going to be the universities of the future, especially for our workforce. One of the things that we did was we launched a TFS Digital Academy, but underlying principle of that is teaching is the best form of learning. So more than learners, what we are encouraging is for our workforce, our teams to be team members to be teachers. So we have a program which we call Teaches 100, which every IT leader is expected to teach at least 100 hours in a year. And I think that's just another perspective that we're taking, which is team members teaching team members. And I think if you think about it, most of this expertise, a lot of this expertise lies within our organization, and we can take the same energy and the expertise that we have and apply it back to the organization, but to the point that IT, harnessing the power of software is not just IT's job, it's everyone's job in the enterprise. So now IT organization, through this mechanism, teaching and learning, can create this digital savviness across the organization and help them kind of lift the digital transformation. So this focus around teaching in addition to learning is an important one for us.
And this idea of peer learning, right? It's gonna be so much more meaningful learning it from a coworker than it is from some outside teacher who's gonna come in. And I say that as an outside teacher who would come in. I think it's an important concept. So hey, look, we're reaching the end of our hour. I want to ask you, Pertisth, especially, and anybody else, and then I'll have a question for the whole group also. Standard interview question. Looking back over your career, what's the most valuable piece of advice that you ever received?
So let me tell it to you in the 3-1. I just practice those. One is that your intent has to be right what you're doing. That's the most important thing. And second, you should have always conflict in the mind. Why I'm saying that, you have two things you have to opt it. Don't get biased on the one and take the call in the end. That's most important. Don't be biased on one side. So always have the conflict in the mind. And then third, I see that you should look for the constant feedback for the growth and treat feedback as a gift. I think that's three things we practice also as a function, and I also, and it has helped me a lot.
Treat feedback as a gift. It's really fascinating that we all learn that over time, but it can be really painful before we learn it. So that's good. Anybody else want to offer a lesson that they've learned? And then we'll go to a final question.
One that I had, sorry, Marina.
Go ahead.
The one I had is a very simple one, which is but very profound, and I use that advice to guide me. It's before you can lead others, you have to lead yourself. So you have to believe that what you do counts for something. And so leadership begins with you. And I think this is actually from a book from Barry Posner, The Leadership Challenge. And that advice has guided me throughout my career.
And Marina.
Yeah, learn it all and don't worry about knowing it all. For me, super powerful. It helps me a lot.
And that's exactly how they changed Microsoft to be what it has become from what it was. This idea of constantly, and it's just a really important thing. And of course, as a professor, I love that you're saying that. So that's a good thing. So let me just end with one question for each of you. And I gave you a really hard assignment for this last question, and that was I want to ask you a question that's really hard to answer quickly, and I want you to answer it quickly. And so the question is, what's the best advice you can give to an aspiring CIO of the future? And the challenge is, how do you do this in one sentence? So having started alphabetically going the wrong way, I'm going to go the right way now. We're going to start at the high end of the alphabet and go down. So why don't we start with Pertisth Mankotia on this one?
Thank you. So I have one thing which I see. Please try to see the things in the organization which others cannot see.
Great, thanks. Okay, next up, Bryson.
It is not how well you have done your job since we last talked, but how much you've changed your job since we last talked.
Great, thanks. Anupam.
Learn how business makes money and keep on learning that forever.
Wonderful. Vipin.
Yeah, I think CIOs are the architects and the builders of the next version of the business. So lead the future.
And last but not least, Marina.
So not aspire to be a CIO, aspire to be a business leader in everything you do.
Wonderful. So this was great. How you did that in one sentence, that concisely, they were all really good advice. I really appreciate you doing that. So I'd like to, all of you, everybody out there, please just give a virtual round of applause to this amazing group of leaders. It's been so much fun getting to know you. And, in our interview process and on the panels that we've been working on, and we've all been watching you on panels over time. So I appreciate your willingness to be part of this. I appreciate your willingness to give us time, in the process. And I appreciate the willingness that you will give us after we send you emails next year to get involved in being the review process for next year's round of winners. And each of you will have that opportunity to be part of that. It's actually my favorite meeting of the year, the meeting where we get together with the former winners to decide who the finalists will be for this coming year. It's just a fantastic conversation. So with that, now I have the very difficult job of telling you about who the winner is. And it was a really, really difficult process. We received a large number of applications this year, went through 3 rounds of review on this. We had IT experts do the first round of review to narrow this down to a set of semifinalists. We then had former finalists from the award narrow that list of semifinalists down to the list of finalists here. And then we, in a smaller committee, interviewed each of the finalists to make the decision. And I'd say in many years, this has been the hardest decision that we've had to make. Usually it's relatively clear. This one, though, has been the hardest decision we had to make. It took a while. Luckily, our committee we know each other pretty well. We love each other pretty well. And so it was a tough decision, but it was not an angry decision or anything. But this tough decision finally came down to one final winner. And I'm really happy to announce that the winner for this year's 2021 MIT CIO Leadership Award is Vipin Gupta from Toyota Financial Services. So congratulations, Vipin.
Thank you.
Vipin, you want to say anything?
I would say thank you, George, and the MIT Sloan CIO program team. And it has been an honor to be part of this amazing group of finalists. And I'm really honored and happy to accept this recognition, really on behalf of my many, many team members and partners at Toyota Financial Services. I'm very fortunate to be working with these smart group of leaders who are people-focused, future-driven. So again, thank you for this recognition, and I deeply, deeply appreciate it.
Wonderful. That's great. So all of you, as I said, all of you are winners. And so we will make sure that we stay in touch with you. I'll make you do a little work for us later, but stay in touch with you also. Those of you who are out there in the media, those of you who are out there listening, certainly, these are stories that are worth telling. And so hopefully you will tell those over and over again. So everybody can learn from what these people have had to say over the time. So with that, Alan, why don't I turn it back over to you to finish us out?
Well, thank you, George, and congratulations to Vipin, our 2021 MIT Sloan CIO Leadership Award winner. And congratulations to all the other finalists, Anupam, Marina, Pertisth, and Bryson. And to the audience, let's continue the conversation. There is an all-member chat event that is live right now, which you can join. Also, please post your thoughts to the 2021 Symposium program under the topic Enterprise Strategy. Join us tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. We'll have Zoya Kinstler. We'll be joined by Yossi Sheffi to discuss reshaping business strategy for the new abnormal. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And yes, replays will be posted to the 2021 Symposium program agenda. That's all we have for today. Bye for now.